to the Experience Podcast. My name is Dennis, and I am um, here today in the present moment um, with.
Hey, hi, hola. My name is Neil. I am a multi-dimensional spiritual being that's expressing through a human body. I'm a coach and I assist conscious people in their 20s exit the matrix and be with their soul family. So if you want to reach out and connect more, you can find a link to an email, and you can also find my Snapchat in the description to where you can reach out personally and connect with me. This video is a video about on and communicating around in all the various aspects of self-love. Um, there's one thing that I know about you. Do you want to know what that one thing is? You love me. And how do I know that you love me is because I love me. And the only way that I can know that you love me is if I love me. And so with self-love, it's all it starts within.
I got a question. Have you always loved yourself?
Um, my true self has always loved myself. My egoic identity created as Neil has not always loved itself. Um, so, mm, mm, I love you, Neil. Mm, you're a pretty good dude. I love you, buddy. Um, so self love. The true self, the innocent, the whole complete part of ourselves. And I would even liken the true self to being God. The thing that's the observer also, the thing that's observing the ego, and that part it always loves, and it always is giving love. It's always receiving love, and it literally is love, and that part of me has always loved, received love, gave love, but when I was born, I may have been aware of this part of me, but like as I grew up, I created this egoic identity, and that for a while was who I thought I was. And because that is what I identified with, I identified as the name Neil and being the body Neil, and that when the name and the body dies, then the Neil dies also, which is actually accurate. But what I wasn't aware of at that time is that there's something that continues. There's an infinity that's in the body, that when the body dies, the infinity, the love, the true self keeps going. And it has an infinite nature. And where are you at, Dennis?
I'm right here, and that was a beautiful explanation of the loving oneself. Like, that's amazing. And where I'm at is actually I'm on this journey and in this space of loving myself in ways that I never did before. And it's that shedding of that egoic self, and that's the space I'm at the moment, or like the space I'm in recently is um, just really being grateful for the essence and the spirit of Dennis. And like in the past, I would judge myself all the fucking time,
Mm,
and like I would so I was always a doer. Like for the last 30 years, I grew up and I would always be doing things, tasks and chores and etc. And so as I would do, and then I would be like, okay, well, I could have done even more, or even if I did a task and I completed it, I was like, I could have done it better. So I was always comparing myself and judging myself. So there was no room for self-love. So now I'm coming to this space where I'm actually uh, loving those aspects of myself that I never did prior to this.
Well, when you say those aspects, like, what are those aspects? Like, are they like new aspects, or are they just aspects that have always been there that are being revealed?
They've always been there, and it's aspects such as anger, like judgment. I mentioned judgment, sadness, depression, and like going back and actually, rather than beating myself up for those things and using that to go to hell, I'm actually loving those aspects of myself. And what's been happening is that there's this constant, this ever expansion of self love.
I just became aware of something. So when we're identified with the ego self, we perceive ourselves as being separate from other ego selves. So the ego selves is like separation, and when the ego perceives separation, it perceives that it needs something to love, or that when I get this thing, I'll feel love. Um, but the reality is, the only thing that we can love is the self, because if you're tuned and aware of the concept of oneness is the truth, and it's all that there is. So me here speaking to you there is me speaking to myself, because I'm speaking to another aspect of myself incarnated in your body, or maybe not even the word incarnated, but it just is in the body, and it also is the body, and it also is the phone, and it also is the pool, and it also is the air. So it's all one, and it's all the self. So the only thing we can ever love is the self. And when we're identified with our egoic identity, I'm here, you're there, then what that does is it creates an illusion of something other than oneness. And when we remember oneness and we operate from the true self, so rather than identifying with the egoic identity, we identify with the true self, we identify with the innocent part of us, we identify with God, we identify with oneness, we identify with operating from the observer. When we identify as that, actually all identifications fall away, and we just are being in the present moment. And from that space, um, when you're in fear in that space, you experience fear wherever you look, wherever you be, because you're everything. So if you're fearful, how you're interacting with everything is from a fearful state. But if you're loving in the observer space, if you're coming from a space of connection from the true self, and honestly, I don't feel you can get to the true self unless you experience love and connection. Because what is connection, or what is love? Love is infinite connection. So I feel when you get to the true self, the majority of what you experience is a love experience, and that's when you love everything, because everything is you. So why would you love something that's why would you hate something that's you? You wouldn't. You would love it. And um, it and it's loving all aspects. So it's loving the shadow, it's loving the darkness, knowing that that's also part of who I am, and not judging it, but loving it because it illuminates what isn't the darkness. And now I can see what's the light. Now I can see the opposite.
And where does forgiveness tie in with that? Because I feel like, for me, I feel like when I love those aspects of myself, there's an aspect of forgiveness that happens. So, for example, it's the judgment. Like in my past version of myself, I would judge myself, and then to get to the state of self-love, to get to the state of loving myself, there was an aspect of forgiveness in there to return to self-love. So
So what I see with forgiveness is fear is forgetting. So when we're fearful, we're trying to get something. We're like consumers, and we just need to eat. We're like a caterpillar, just eating all the time. So when we're fearful, we're consuming, we're getting, we're forgetting, we're pro-getting, we're forgetting things. When we're loving, we're forgiving. Love is forgiving. It's not forgetting anything, but it's forgiving everything, which is love. And because of that, the only time we're when we are in judgment, we're also in fear of something. And when we're loving, we forgive our judgment, and then because of that, there's just more love. And so that's how I see judgment and forgiveness playing a role, and they're two sides of the same coin.
and when we forgive, we surrender. We surrender the judgment. We surrender whatever it is that aspect of ourselves that's not love. We surrender that over to God. And also, even the love comes from God, so we can surrender that too. So, and even the breath that you're taking in this moment, that you're inhaling in this moment, is the breath of God, and that can be surrendered over. So, just the fact that you're breathing is an act of self-love. So, be grateful for your breath. And I'm speaking to myself right now in this moment, because that's who we are, and that's how we be.
Yeah, and the only thing we can surrender is the egoic self. So, when we get to the true self, you would go, all right, well, I'm gonna surrender the true self, but you're already everything, so there's nothing to surrender. So before you're everything, before you're the true self, before you're the observer, there's something. So rather than there being everything, there's something, and that something could be Neil in a body sitting on a chair. That's something. And I could choose to identify with that, or I could choose to expand my awareness and identify as everything. But when I'm identified with Neil in a body sitting on a chair, if I choose to identify with that, what there is to surrender is the name Neil. What there is to surrender is any thoughts that are going through Neil's brain. What there is to surrender is the thought that it is Neil's brain. And what there is to surrender is Neil's body. What there is to surrender is the chair that Neil's sitting on. What there is to surrender is the words that are communicating from Neil's mouth. And when I've surrendered all of that, what's left is the observer. What's left is the true self. What's left is God expressing through the form of Neil. And the only entire creation is an expression of God. So when we remove what we're identifying with, when we remove the egoic self and all identities that we've ever created, the only thing that's left is love. The only thing that's left is the true self. The only thing that's left is God. And it's just creation creating. And it appears like we may be doing something, but we're just being creation creating. And it's effortless, it's flow, it's not easy, but it's very simple.
And what I just heard from your share, like the one word that I just heard is faith. Like
Yes.
that's like
100%.
after that, like it's complete faith.
100%.
And it's a complete surrendering to God. So
Yes, I'm glad you're bringing it up because it's literally that. Because surrender is it's like sacrificing something, and the only way you can sacrifice something is you have faith that you have trust in the process, you have faith in the outcome, because you don't know what it looks like after you surrender an identity that you've been identified with. You only know what it's like to have the identity. So in order to surrender that identity, it requires faith in things working out. Faith that all things work for good. Faith that there's a higher power. Faith that that there's an ultimate outcome that's a positive one. So faith is essential, I feel, in the process of surrender. Where judgment and forgiveness are two sides of the same coin, I feel surrender and faith are two sides of the same coin. The surrender happens and the faith is next. And sometimes the faith happens and then the surrender happens. But they're like two aspects of the same coin. They're heads and the tails. They're the yin and the yang. They're brothers and sisters.
So I feel like we just gave you a recipe to walk on water. Literally. Like as you were speaking, like I saw Jesus walking on the Sea of Galilee, like he literally, I feel like that's the state he was in. Complete surrender, complete faith. And so, yeah.
And with that, so with oneness, when we love ourselves, when we give to ourselves, how we give to ourselves is by giving to others. So when we give something to creation, we receive something. So if you would like to give something, if you would like to make a donation, there's a donation link in the description where you can donate $2, you can donate $2,000, you can donate $20,000, you can donate $200,000, and this currency, this form of energy exchange is it's benefiting Earthwaking University, which is building physical regenerative villages in Costa Rica, and it's also benefiting the Experience podcast through directly benefiting Dennis and also Neil. And so by donating, expect miracles to happen when you make a donation, because we put our value where our money's at. So if you put your value into regenerative physical villages, that is showing where your heart's at. That's showing where you're aligned with. And as a byproduct, there'll be some miracle that'll be showing up in the form of resources. It could be money, it could be things, it could be people. And when we give our money to, let's say like Pfizer, or we give our money to robotics, when we give our money to things that are working towards the detriment of humanity, that's showing us where our heart's at. So if you want to have a positive impact and make be a contribution with your resources, this donation link is a great opportunity for that. And so with that being said, like this, I speaking to you am speaking to me, because there's no you to speak to. And the reason for that is because I'm communicating from a place of the observer, from a place of the true self. I know that Neil is an egoic identity that I've created, and I choose to not identify with that, and I choose to identify with something greater, something beyond what this body is, something beyond what these thoughts are. A higher power, a God, the true self, love, all whatever name you want to use. That's the position that I'm operating from.
And also, there is some very transformational classes coming up. Every Thursday, there's a class called Freedom to Be Masterclass. And if you are going through anything in your life, and or if you just want to experience transformation, this is an opportunity for you to come check it out. It's every Thursday. The link will be in the description. It's freedomtobemasterclass.com. And then also, there is a live event that's happening. As you can see right now, we're literally in heaven on earth. We're manifesting heaven on earth. And this is going to be live November 17th through the 20th here in the physical village here in Costa Rica. And it's called the Remember Experience. And we'll put that link in the chat. This is going to be
In the description.
or in the description. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then one more is I want to invite you to a personal masterclass that I'm doing. It's called Return to Nature, and what we're doing in this is we're really diving deep into the laws of nature and how they apply in our life, and how we can use them to create abundance and cooperation and co-create with Mother Nature in a very cooperative and harmonizing way. So those are three events that are happening. Some of them are. One of them is happening on Monday. The Return to Nature is every Monday at 5 p.m. Costa Rica time, which is 7 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join this masterclass, reach out to me on Facebook, and I will send you the link on that. So that's all I have.
Less of me and more of you, God. I love you. Peace.